Good morning friends, I am Ashish Agarwal from team NGOenabler, and in today's video I will discuss on one of the very important forms, Form 9A. At the time of filing the form for financial year 2021, we have received a number of requests from all over the country to provide guidance on when and how to fill Form 9A and what it is all about. So friends, today in this video, I will not only handhold you in filling the form on the income tax portal, but will also provide you with complete information on the same. So before I move on to the form, let me tell you when Form 9A is required to be filed by the organization. As most of you must be aware that charitable organizations are required to spend minimum 85% of the total receipts during the year in order to be able to claim the exemption under section 11 and 12 of the Act. However, if an organization is unable to spend the minimum 85% amount as laid down, the shortfall amount at the option of the organization shall be considered as deemed to have been applied in that year itself. I repeat, if an organization is unable to spend the minimum 85% as laid down, the shortfall amount at the option of the organization shall be considered as deemed to have been applied in that year itself if the whole or any part of the income has not been received during the year, or for any other reason, provided such option has been exercised before the due date for furnishing the return of income as specified under section 139(1) and in such form and manner as prescribed, which is actually mandatory filing of Form 9A electronically. I repeat, if the whole or any part of the income has not been received during the year, or for any other reason, if you want to exercise the option because of the shortfall in the minimum 85% spending, it can be done by filing the prescribed form in the manner laid down in the section 11 and 12 before the due date for furnishing the return of income, which is actually mandatory filing of Form 9A electronically. However, the amount for which such option is exercised shall be added back to the total income of the organization if such amount is not applied in the year of receipt or in the immediately following financial year, as the case may be. However, the amount for which such option is exercised shall be added back to the total income of the organization if such amount is not applied in the year of receipt or in the immediately following financial year, as the case may be. So friends, to summarize, Form 9A has to be filed in case the organization is unable to apply the minimum specified limit of 85% of the total receipts and wish to exercise the option of applying such shortfall amount in the immediately following financial year or in the year of receipt, as the case may be.
Coming to the form, by now all of you must be well aware of the login process on the income tax portal. So I am directly moving on to the form. You will find the form under the tab E-File, where you need to select the option Income Tax Forms and then File Income Tax Forms. Once you click on it, you will find different forms available under the three tabs: persons with business or professional income, persons without business or professional income, persons not dependent on any source of income. So you need to move on to the last tab by clicking on it, where you will find Form 9A. So here is Form 9A. Click on File now. You will find that the PAN of the organization online as the submission mode and original as the type of filing is already auto-populated. You just need to select the assessment year from the drop-down for which the form is being filed. So let's select assessment year 22-23. As soon as you click on the assessment year, the tab Continue becomes active for moving ahead. Then click on Let's Get Started to start filling the form. Here you can see that it's a very simple and short form having only two sections, Part A and Part B. As soon as you get inside Part A for providing the details, at the very start you will find that the form is addressed to the jurisdictional assessing officer. Just below it, you can find the name of the principal officer of your organization and an option to change the same by clicking on My Profile tab. Then you can see a brief para where the principal officer expresses his or her wish on behalf of the organization to opt for subsection 1 section 11 of the Act for a particular amount which shall be deemed to be applied during the year for which the form is being filed. Now comes the main part of the form where the details of income are required to be filled. So let me tell you which amount is to be filled in each point. Total income for the year has to be filled in point number 1. The payments actually made from the total income has to be filled in point number 2. Amount which is less than 85% of the amount has to be filled in point number 3. And at last, the amount for which the option is being exercised has to be filled in point number 4. So usually the amount in point number 3 which falls short of 85% of the income should be equal to the amount which is being filled in point number 4. So to give you some examples for more clarity, suppose the total income of the organization is 1 lakh. So as per the rules, the minimum amount which has to be applied for charitable purpose in order to claim exemption is 85,000, which is the 85% of the total income. Now suppose the organization was only able to apply rupees 80,000. This means the organization has fallen short by rupees 5,000. So let's see which figures need to be filled point wise for this particular example. So 1 lakh has to be filled in point number 1. The amount which is actually applied, that is 80,000, has to be filled in point number 2. You can see that point number 3 is automatically filled as 5,000, and in point number 4 same 5,000 has to be filled for which the option shall be exercised. Now let's take a bit difficult example. Suppose total income of the organization is 1 lakh. Again, this means that 85,000 has to be applied for charitable purposes during the year. Now suppose again it has applied 80,000 rupees, thus falling short by rupees 5,000. But also in the previous year too, the management had exercised this option under section 11 subsection 1 by filling form 9A for rupees 10,000. So you can see here it's mentioned amount actually applied for charitable purposes during the year after adjusting previous year's accumulated amount and option exercise amount if any. So suppose the organization has applied 80,000 rupees and 10,000 was previous year's option exercise amount. This means this year the amount actually applied by the organization is only 70,000. I repeat, the organization has actually applied rupees 80,000 in the current year, but since 10,000 rupees was the amount which was exercised as option under section 11 subsection 1 in the previous year, this amount got reduced by 10,000 and the actual application which shall be considered this year by the income tax department shall be rupees 70,000. So actually the organization is short by rupees 15,000 and not rupees 5,000, because out of rupees 80,000, rupees 10,000 was paid out of earlier year receipts which was already considered as an application in the last year. I repeat, actually the organization is short by rupees 15,000 and not rupees 5,000, because out of rupees 80,000, rupees 10,000 was paid out of earlier year receipts which was already considered as an application in the last year. So coming back to the form, again here 1 lakh has to be filled, but in point number 2, 70,000 has to be filled. You can see 15,000 is automatically populated in point number 3, and in point number 4 again 15,000 has to be opted for option exercise. Now let's take another example. Suppose total income of an organization is 1 lakh. So 85,000 has to be applied. Now suppose it was only able to apply rupees 50,000, thus falling short by rupees 35,000. I repeat, the organization was only able to apply rupees 50,000, thus falling short by rupees 35,000. However, the management decided to set apart certain funds amounting rupees 25,000 under section 11 subsection 2 also. I will come to form number 10 where I have explained why the accumulation can be done under section 11 subsection 2 in my next video. So suppose for this example, if the management decides to set apart certain funds under section 11 subsection 2 also, which is 25,000, so the organization will fall short only by 10,000, for which the option has to be exercised under section 11 subsection 1. So finally, for this example, let's see which figures need to be placed where. In point number 1, 1 lakh remains the same. Amount of income actually applied comes to 50,000. Amount of income referred to in point number 2, that falls short of 85% of the income referred to in 1, which shall be 35,000. But the amount for which option shall be exercised will be rupees 10,000, because for 25,000 form 10 shall be filed. Here the reasons for shortfall in application also has to be filled. So if you see the first point, whether the income was not received during the previous year, or in point number B, for any other reason. So if suppose the organization is following accrual system of accounting which is no more valid for the income tax computation, and it has not received certain income which they are considering it for the purpose of computation, they will click yes and fill the amount. If due to any other reason they are required to opt for this option, they can select any other reason, and specifying the reason for shortfall, they can fill the amount. So it can be any reason. Suppose you have received the fees or the contribution during the later part of the year. So you can write here the amount was received during the month of February and March. And you can put here the amount and you can just add it. So once you do it, then click on save. So for the time being, let's click yes and put the entire 10,000 here and click on save. Part B is related to verification, where the name of the principal officer is auto-filled and you need to select his or her designation and complete address. So suppose you can fill here self, or you can also fill here her designation. suppose principal officer, and then you can put the address In our opinion, the address of the organization should be filled and not of the principal officer. Don't forget to click on Save. Once both parts are completely filled and green tick can be seen on both, the preview option will get activated and one can check the form by generating the preview. You will find the entire form will be displayed on the screen as filled up by you. After checking the form, you can click on Proceed to e-verify. There, you can either verify it through a one-time password, which will be sent on the registered mobile number, and that too only if it is linked with the Aadhaar of the authorized person, or you can verify the form through the digital signature of the authorized person. Only after the e-verification is done, the form shall be considered to be submitted.
So this was all about Form 9A. I hope I have been able to develop the clarity now as to when and how the form has to be filed. Remember, the due date for filing the form is same as that of the income tax return, and if the date for return filing is extended in any particular year, in our opinion, the date of filing Form 9A automatically gets extended for that particular year unless specifically excluded in the circular. For further details, keep tuned to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and get your notifications on. For any queries, feel free to comment below or contact us through email. Thank you.